Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Suited Kings podcast. Today, we have a very special guest with us. She is a PLO cash game crusher. She's got a total of $1.23 million in live tournament earnings. In 2022, she was the GPI Breakout Player of the Year. She's a Phenom Poker Ambassador and a World Series of Poker Circuit Champion. Let's welcome Angela Jordison. How's it going, Angela?
Hi, guys. Listen to Wes. He sounds like a professional radio guy.
I love that. He's finally getting the hang of it.
I know. Max is definitely the interview guy between the two of us, I feel like.
He's the brain and the robot, and I'm the interview guy, but
Yeah.
I'm passing the torch a little bit, and he's
we're trying to teach this guy some poker, too.
Yeah.
That's the first thing I heard about Wes is that he's all brains.
Yeah.
When he ended up at a table, we ended up at the same table deep in a tournament. And my friend Jackie's like, oh, that's Wes. He runs all the Sims and for a different podcast, right?
Yep. Yeah, the poker guys who we did have on here. Yeah.
We've interviewed them, and they are actually from Portland. So I'm assuming you've listened to them or maybe even know them?
Yeah, I know them.
Okay, cool.
I've been around the scene a long time. In the Northwest scene's not that big. So everybody kind of knows everyone.
Those dudes are so fun to talk with. They're just so witty.
Yeah.
Oh, they're awesome.
Yeah, incredible.
You can tell how smart they are just by like how they talk. And the way they're able to like have such a straight face and just say anything. They could probably be stand-up comedians, I feel like.
I would agree
they're
with that.
great. And their podcast is really good too. And it's so good just for the market, the Northwest market we just don't really have a lot going on up there. There's no big tours that come through. So it's nice to have somebody that shines a light on that community because there is a lot of poker that's going on in the Northwest, especially in Portland.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, you had mentioned the tournament that we played in together, the WSOP. It was the 1K freeze out in 2022. That was really I think the start of your big run that got you to GPI Breakout Player of the Year. And you got second place in was it like the mid stakes or what was that called again? Mid-major, the
mid-major
GPI
Player of the Year, I think.
Yeah. So it's like buy-ins, anywhere in the world under 2,500.
Mm-hmm. You got second.
That's all genders. That's the one I really wanted to win.
That's huge.
Because, nobody could say, oh, it's just for, females or whatever. Like we have it easier. It's an easier category. So that one, I was like, I really want to win that one and finish.
Yeah. Second is still an incredible accomplishment. And you fell runner up to, one of the greatest players of the modern time, Stephen Song. So
yeah, for sure.
Well, and we were literally just talking about this before we started recording, but let's go back, repeat what you said to us a few minutes ago. So what had to happen for you to not win that award?
So I was in position to win 2 categories going into the win in December of 2022. Mm-hmm. And a lot of things had to go wrong for me to finish second in both. Like I felt like I would get one or the other. Mm-hmm. And then Cherish, who's I've known for years and years since she was like 18, coming to Oregon to play tournaments because she couldn't play anywhere else. So we have a long history together. I just adore her. I think she's an absolute crusher. She had to really put up some huge numbers to beat me, which she did. She ends up passing me by a lot, which didn't even seem mathematically possible. But she, I think 1, 2, or had 3 final tables in 4 days, like big buy-ins. So she was very deserving. She passed me and I lost that one. And then Steven had to win a 6,500 person tournament.
A 1K 6,500.
And then I could have passed him in the last tournament of the year, which is the MSPT in December at the Venetian. And I had to finish 3rd. And then I would have won it. I got 5th.
Oh my God.
It was a heartbreaker. Honestly, I think they gave me Breakout Player of the Year because they just felt so sorry for me.
I mean, you had an incredible year.
That I wanted to win. I wasn't being cool about it. I was like, I want to win one of these. I felt like that was going to be my only opportunity to really be able to compete in one of those categories, especially the female Player of the Year, because the points are so heavily weighted on buy-in.
Yeah.
That I don't play 5Ks and 10Ks. I play I play 2 10Ks a year, the main and the win.
Yep.
And I don't seek out 5Ks. I want to be between 1K and 3,500. So for me to compete for female player of the year is like really difficult. It's almost impossible at the buy-in level that I play. So, and it was just kind of a perfect storm where Kristen Bicknell or Kristen Foxen wasn't playing very often. So she really wasn't in the mix. So it was my opportunity, you know, so I really wanted to win and I had no shame about it. I was like, oh, this is so exciting for me.
Yeah, well, and you shouldn't. I mean, that either one of those would have been huge to win.
Mhm.
And
And it's
yeah,
still a great achievement getting second in both and then also GPI Breakout Player of the Year. I mean, that's incredible accomplishments right there.
it is. Well, and I don't know if everybody knows this, but you didn't really, I mean, before 2022, you were definitely more of a cash game player, and maybe you still are now. But talk about how you kind of moved from cash to tournaments, especially that year, or if it was something that you started doing before that.
So during the pandemic, I lost a parent and had to spend more time in the Midwest. So I
Mhm.
always had my game that I played in Oregon that I kind of put together. I didn't like profit from it, but it was in a club. And I was kind of the person that would reserve everybody's seats and tell us when we were playing and that kind of thing. I really just facilitated the game so that I would have it to play. So if
Yeah.
I didn't put it together, it just really struggled to go. So I did that for years and we would play, you know, sometimes we'd go 5 days a week, sometimes we'd go 2 days a week. And it was mostly PLO8 and then it would be Big O, then sometimes a round of each and PLO. It just depended on what, you know, the lineup was.
Mhm.
So I played that game, you know, for 10 years, 12 years with the same rotating people. And the game was great and very lucrative for me. And I just never really felt like I needed to spend any time in tournaments
Yeah.
because, you know, the lifestyle of cash games is so much better, in my opinion, than tournaments, even though tournaments are so fun and you get all the glory.
Due to the
Yeah.
variance, or
Huh?
is it due to the variance?
It's variance and travel and just all
Travel.
the things, you know, you can have just a really normal life and play cash.
Yep.
It's more difficult to do that in tournaments. And so I am spending more time in the Midwest. I don't have a game. When I go to the casino, they're only playing 1-2 no limit. And that just, you know, it doesn't
Yeah.
really interest me that much. Didn't really like Hold'em at the time. And then it's just so low stakes, like a max buy-in of 300. So I was forced to have to start to study and play tournaments more often. Before I would just dabble in tournaments here and there. It was probably like 10% of poker for me, tournaments. It just
Okay.
really didn't interest me. You know, I just really liked big cash and kind of where I hung out.
Yeah.
And so when I was in the Midwest and in Des Moines, I'm just like a morning's drive to all these major cities, whether it's Kansas City or Chicago or Minneapolis, and they're having all these big tournaments. And I had heard of the MSPT in the Midwest, but I didn't really realize what amazing tournaments these are. And so
Incredible.
I started showing up. I didn't know anybody. Nobody. I didn't, you know, I hardly knew anyone in the Midwest. Once in a while, I'd see someone that I kind of knew from, you know, the West Coast or whatever, but nobody knew me and I didn't know them. And
Mhm.
then I started, you know, playing a lot.
Okay. Okay. Well, Angela, let's take a step back here for a minute. We're going to get into, playing the MSPTs, playing the circuits, playing all that good stuff. But before all of that, back in the early 2000s, it looks like you got into the bar business. Were you a bar owner at that time, or what was that?
I was a stockbroker
Okay.
with Morgan Stanley.
Okay.
And Merrill Lynch was trying to recruit a lot of Morgan Stanley stockbrokers, and they recruited me over and gave me like a big signing bonus to do this, to buy all my clients and move to Merrill Lynch. So with that money, I opened taverns and bars. It was something
Okay.
I always wanted to do. And in Oregon, it's just a little bit more unique because they have state ran slot machines. And so it makes the bar business way more lucrative. So that's another reason that factored in why I wanted to open these small taverns with these slot machines. So they're not really
Okay.
mini casinos, but you know, there's a lot more revenue coming in based on gambling, not just the bar business.
So did the bar get a piece of the cut of the gambling then with the
Yeah.
state? Okay.
Yep.
Okay. And then I read that you had some people maybe approach you about opening a poker room in there.
Yeah. So in one of my very first bars, I brought in blackjack and I did it because I started looking. I had heard that like 50 years ago in our town, they used to have blackjack in these bars. And I was like, well, how were they doing that? So I dig around and I find this old law called social gaming, which is now kind of became a big player in all these different regions across the country. So I find this old law and I go to my city and I say, I want to have blackjack in this bar I have. And they did not know it. They didn't know what to do about it at all. They're like, okay, yeah, you can have it. So then I open a big nightclub and there's this room in it. And this is right during moneymaker time. And this guy approaches me and says, we want to do poker in your bar in this area, in this back room. And I was like, okay. So I go back to the city. I'm like, this should fall under social gaming as well. They know nothing about poker at all. So
Okay.
they tell me, just write up and tell us what you want to do. Okay. So I'm like, all
That's a
right.
good start.
Yeah. So I'm like, well, we're going to rake the game. We're going to do Monte Carlo jackpots. We're doing this and that. They were fine with everything. We had max bets at that time. So then that was one thing I knew I had to get changed right away. Anyway, so we opened this poker room inside this nightclub and it just takes off like crazy. Well, the nightclub was extremely, extremely popular. And so was this poker room. And so my first order of business was to get this max bet of 100 removed. It was really easy. They worked with me really.
We could use that in Minnesota.
Yeah,
too.
you want to stop up in Minnesota and get rid of that here?
So I got that removed, and then just leased the space for a long time. Eventually, I ended up taking the poker room over, but for a while, I just leased the space, and that kind of introduced me to the game. I had only played, as a kid or like family games. I had never played organized poker before having it in my own bar, and I couldn't play in my games, but I could. I was around it and met people and just started showing, interest in the game at that time.
That's honestly truly incredible. I had no idea you had such a cool background going
Yeah,
from,
well,
stockbroking to that.
Yeah, then I get 3 visits from the state police.
Oh,
And each visit, they're taking something from me. Like, okay, you can't rake it as much anymore, or you can't do this, or you can't do that. Because what happened is when this poker room took off, it ended up on the front page of, the newspapers and on the news and everything. How are they doing this? And so then they started popping up across the state in the college towns and in Portland, and everybody was kind of copying our model.
okay.
So that model truly wasn't in line with the laws of the state, which supersedes any city law.
Right.
So even though the city was saying it was okay, if the state really wanted to step in, they could override the city law, which they don't like to do, but it was getting so out of control and they were popping up everywhere that they had to. So on the third visit, I was like, this is getting where I don't know if I can make as much money. And so I ended up working with the state legislature and my city and the city police and the state police and everybody and trying to come up with a common goal of what they found acceptable.
Okay.
And in the end, we did get a lot of things changed. But for me, square footage wise, once I could not take a rake, it just didn't pencil for me. I could use that space for other things, but other people went with the new laws and the way that they wrote them out, which was basically, you could charge cover fees and things like that.
Okay.
No longer rakes. And for me, it wasn't lucrative enough, but other people across the state found ways to make businesses off of it. And
So you were the catalyst for it, though. You got the scene kind of going in Portland.
right, which kind of trickled across the state, across the country, like Texas. We would get calls from all over saying, what are you guys doing? How are you doing this? And, I became really astute in all these laws, the social gaming laws, how we can profit from the game, how no player can, no establishment can profit from the game, and just the little loopholes you could and couldn't use. And every state is different. And even to this day, they're all running in the gray area. And I am surprised it's lasted this long. I'm happy that it has.
Yeah.
But at that time, I never thought it would because they just kept cracking down on us and cracking down on us. So just digging around and finding this old law kind of really mushroomed into what is Oregon poker today, because nobody's really playing poker in the casinos in Oregon anymore. It's all in card rooms.
You really stepped up. That's incredible.
No, that's so cool. Because I've heard actually on the Poker Guys podcast that they that's how cash games are run there. It's just you pay. Is it hourly or is it just a cover fee to get in?
It's a cover fee. I don't know what they're charging now. I know for a long time it was $15 all day,
I
and
think
they
it
were
was
running
20 from what I
huge
heard. Yeah.
tournaments. Maybe it's 20 now,
Yeah.
and we're running huge tournaments. The cash games are great. They run like big card rooms, just like you would see anywhere across the country. And so there for a long time, the games were great, and it was really an unusual format. But now it's became a lot more common.
Yeah. Well, that's really cool. I had no idea that you were kind of the original catalyst behind that.
Yeah, and I mean, you win. I mean, this is kind of important, I think, for our listeners to hear too. Is like the steps. I mean, you just got off your ass and did. I mean, you took up legislation on. You went and it sounds like they were kind of clueless, so you kind of guided them to what you wanted too. It was
Right. Until they couldn't be clueless anymore.
Yeah,
Really, they wanted to ignore us.
Yeah,
right.
I'm in a medium-sized, smaller town in Oregon. Like I wasn't in Portland at the time. I was in the middle of the state. That's where I was living, and so we really wasn't a big priority until like the anti-gaming people.
Okay.
Really start to get into it. And honestly, I was running like a full-on casino in this bar. They were letting me. I had 3-card poker, I had blackjack, I had all these poker tables. So, and this, pretty controversial bar because it was so busy at the time and stuff. So, yeah, just all of it together kind of made me a target. But I learned so much.
Is this when you started playing more regularly then? After that, you stopped doing the poker in your bar and club?
Yeah, because I could not play in any establishment that I owned a license for. So I never got to play there at all.
Okay.
But I met all these people in poker. And so they started dragging me around to casinos and playing like little tournaments here and there, $60 tournaments, $80 tournaments. And I just loved it. And then you didn't study. You got better at the game by sitting on the felt.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you could order a book online and things like that, but basically you got better by playing. And I just kind of jumped in right into 5-10 cash games and started winning right away and thought, wow, this is the easiest thing I've ever seen in my life. Well, then the reality, the variance swung back the other way and the reality of the game hit me. And I knew that I had to put time in off the felt and surround myself with players better than me. And that's really how I evolved in the game, by having friends that were better at the game than me.
Amen.
I think that's so common. Like anyone who gets into poker has to have some run good kind of early on, or else they just won't catch the bug. But
Someone said that. Was that Rich?
It might have been. It was someone who we had on recently.
Yeah, I think it was Rich.
Yeah, but no, that's so true. And I think, it's the people who, once the downswing happens, realize like, oh, it's not just like,
that's what will really
getting
test your
unlucky.
fortitude
Yeah,
of
it's
a
like,
poker player.
I need to get better. Do I want to, or do I want to just keep kind of doing it for fun?
And a lot of people end up on that streamline of not wanting to get better. They just think they're good enough and they just play and they end up losing, or not, at least not winning much. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let's jump to when I actually first heard of you. I remember telling you this story when I first ran into you. I think it was last year at Riverside or Grand Falls. Grand Falls, maybe.
Riverside.
I always get those two mixed up. But the year is 2015. I'm scrolling through Twitter, and Kev Math. I see a post from Kev Math, and he posts a picture of who it turned out to be you, and you won back-to-back tournaments. What was this called again? I had this written down here somewhere.
It's the Pendleton Roundup. So at that time, it's like the biggest tournament in which there's also a rodeo named the Pendleton Roundup, but this poker tournament's called the poker
in Oregon, right?
Yeah, in Oregon. The Pendleton Roundup tournament's one of the most famous rodeos is one of the most famous rodeos in the world. So that's why sometimes when I say the Pendleton Roundup, they think I'm like a cowgirl, and I'm not. So this was a tournament. This was one tournament I would go to 2 times a year. Like all my friends went. It was very social. To be honest, I'm like dust in tournaments. I wasn't any good, but what I was good at was aggression. And so I showed up and I won the first one that had like, I don't know how many people, 600?
537.
Okay, 537. So I win the first day. And I'm really excited. I had a downswing in poker in 2014. So I come in to here and I'm just starting to lick my wounds and like, get out of this downswing that I had. The longest downswing I had was in 2014. So I win that tournament, and it's a 1-day tournament. Starts at noon. You're done at 3 or 4 in the morning.
That's
Then
insane.
yeah, and I'm 3
1
hours from
day.
my house in the middle of nowhere. This tournament's in the middle of nowhere, so there's nothing else to do. So the next morning I get up and I play again, and I can't remember how many were in that one.
There was 448 in that one.
Yeah, then I won again. And I honestly think it's kind of easier to win this. I hate to say it's easier to win the second one when you win the first, but you just don't give a shit.
You got
You're
that
just like,
confidence. Yeah,
you're just
yeah.
like throwing big bluffs, whatever, just playing a bunch of hands. And so I win that. And now I'm like, wow, this is crazy. And then I went till 4 in the morning again. And then the third day, it was a shootout with a couple hundred because they used to
Yeah,
get fields.
214, yeah.
Yeah. And I win my first table and I run back to my room and I sleep in between. And I'm like, please, I have like 3 people that are going to call me when it's my turn. So I'm so tired. I can barely keep my eyes open. And I end up playing until like 5 a.m. and had to play my toughest opponent heads up in that match. And I won again. And I just was like, this is unbelievable. And I thought my friends would be so excited. I was so excited. But I didn't realize the odds to do something like that. And I guess it's like 50 million.
Astronomical.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I had no idea. And I didn't know that it was going to be a big deal in poker. I was rarely on Twitter. I was not connected to the poker world much at all. If I didn't see you on the magazine of some casino, I didn't, or on TV, I didn't know who you were.
Wes was in elementary school, but I
but I can see your mom, Wes.
But me in the middle of nowhere, Minnesota, Minneapolis. I mean, I even heard it. That wave made it all the way to me. You know what I mean? And that's when I started following you. And I was just so impressed by that. You had three wins, and I knew like how crazy that was. I was super hungry for poker at that point in my life. Real quick here, I just wanted to ask about the shootout. So a shootout is a format where you have to win your table to move on to the next table, correct?
Yes.
How many tables did you have to win that tournament? It was like 3 tables, 3 sit and goes, essentially?
Yeah.
Okay, so you just win 3 sit and goes straight out to win this tournament.
Yeah, when I'm just so tired too. And then I have to play the 4th one, of course,
Yeah.
So I'm up the next day playing Limit 08, which, I have a lot of experience in that game. That was fine. And there was like 300 or 400 people in that tournament. And I busted not that deep into the tournament at all. And I think it ended up being one of my biggest moments in poker. As soon as I busted, the entire place stood up, and this is a huge room, and the cash games are really big. There's probably 500 or 600 people, and they all just started like cheering and screaming for me. And I mean, I've like got all choked up, and I don't know, just the support of that community. And I just love Oregon poker so much, and all those people that I had cultivated those relationships.
I could see how much it means to you just by
it was really a touching moment. And then I'm starving, so I go to this Mexican restaurant, and I'm so tired. And now my phone is blowing up. Poker News is contacting me. I'm like, oh my god! And I'm feeling like a really big deal. And then I walk out of the restaurant, and I'm so tired that I forget to pay the bill. And these 3 Mexican guys are chasing me down, and I think they're trying to rob me because I have all this cash in my purse. I'm like, why are people chasing me from this restaurant?
Oh no.
But anyway, I tried to run out on my $18 when I had, like $50,000 in my purse or whatever.
Did you expect to win every tournament from there on out forever?
No, because I'd already been humbled by the game. And so I had that downswing, and I do feel like poker will humble you in a way when you feel like you have everything figured out and you feel like this game is easy, or I can get away with anything, not studying, playing bad, punting, whatever, and it'll all work out in your way because what am I trying to say? Goes your way.
It's so true.
That it feels like you can't do anything wrong, right? And then the downswing hits, and you have to eat some serious humble pie, and I don't like that stuff.
I'm so glad you brought that up.
When I won those 3 tournaments, I was like, I know that this is not normal. And no, I didn't have any expectations. I went back to my cash games.
I'm glad to hear that you know were honest with yourself, and we kind of promote that a lot on this podcast is just being realistic, not
Yeah.
getting ahead of yourself. Wes, you
Yeah.
had something?
I had a couple things. Going back, I mean, that was actually technically also the first I heard of you, even though I didn't know it was you. I think I heard it mentioned on the Poker Guys podcast. I'm like, wow, that's kind of insane. And then I don't think I met you for a few years after that, and it took me a while to make the connection. But yeah, I mean, that is insane. I mean, if you think about it, probably most people who will listen to this podcast, it's like, even if they play regularly, won't win 3 tournaments in a year, maybe have not won 3 tournaments in a lifetime, and just
But with fields in that size,
Yeah,
even,
and
I mean,
yeah,
win a
those are
daily I mean, some people win back-to-back 60-person dailies, but these have hundreds of players in them. It's incredible.
yeah, pretty
Yeah, I was
insane.
just kind of going through the motions, you know. I
Yeah.
was running great. If I had aces, they had kings. If I
Yep.
had the flush draw, I got there. You know, it just was 3 days of dream poker.
And
it
like you mentioned, I can tell you're naturally aggressive by just the first times we played. But you're astoundingly fierce. You are terrifying to play against.
That's
th
so weird. I don't feel like that. I have such bad imposter syndrome.
I mean, I feel like that's common among a lot of people who are able to be, like, honest with yourself, because you always know that imposter syndrome, I feel like, is just the awareness that there's so much more you don't know, and so,
Right.
like, it means you've gotten good enough to realize how much more there is, but that's how you got good in the first place, because you knew how much you needed to learn.
Yeah, I never stop studying and learning. Like, I feel like all the public attention is coming from all the studying I'm doing privately so
Mhm.
intensely.
A lot of people don't see that.
And that, yes, you know, my name was everywhere in 2022, but behind the scenes, like, I was grinding so hard on studying, and studying is really hard for me. I'm very artsy and I just have focus issues. Like, I have to study like 10 times harder than my best friend Jackie. Like, she can just it's easy for her and it's not for me. But you know, I don't want the game to pass me by.
Yeah.
And I know that that will happen if I don't take those private times to really study. And you know, make a lot of mistakes. I punt with the best of them, but I always write it down and go over it again and not let myself off the hook or
I
blame
think we
Jeremy.
should dive into this more. And one thing
Course.
before we dive into this more is I want to say, I just told this to Wes the other day, but if you're not punting, you're not trying hard enough.
Yeah, it's the truth. You
Yeah,
got to
that's
walk
true.
that line.
You do. But yeah, so Wes, go ahead.
Yeah, so before that, and this kind of leads into the studying stuff, but I was gonna ask, when you had that downswing, or even to this day when you do have a downswing, is there anything you do differently, and how do you kind of push your way through that?
Well, I'm kind of coming out of a short one. The last 6 months I've just taken some really sick rivers and turns or whatever, like
Yeah.
some big hands cracked. And usually I can just kind of, you know, let it roll off my back. But when it came to this weekend on the first flight that I played in Elgin, I had it. I got it all in 3 times through that day with aces. Like, how often do you even get aces in a day? I got them 3 times in a day, get it all in pre,
Yeah.
Mhm.
cracked every time.
Dusted.
And I'm
Oh.
doing some serious whining in the girls group chat. I'm like, oh God, you know, I know this is so annoying and nobody wants to hear it, but I just can't take it anymore. Like, I think I need to take a break till the series. And you know, and I'm rolled for these. It's not about like going broke or
Right.
doing any of those things. It's more about like, God, you know, it just gets to you after a while, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
So
preaching to the choir. Totally understand.
yeah, and I just go back to the basics and try to show up in my best form the next time, but it had been quite a few in a row and it was
Thank you
painful.
for being open about that, because again, that's another thing we talk with people. A lot of people see the glory behind all of it, but they don't see the downswings and what we actually go through emotionally. And we're all human, you know what I mean? Like, I've been through I went through a short downswing recently. It was and I actually let it get to me at the most recent Riverside MSPT, where I made a very uncharacteristic play, and I
You
was
launched it off.
I launched it, man. And it wasn't riding that fine line where I'm like, fine line where I'm like, you gotta, if you're not punting, you're not trying hard enough. I just straight punted. You know what I mean? It was,
Yeah.
and it was straight up because I was tired. Like I had so many big hands cracked through the
Well, you
tournament.
had stone bubbled the first flight
I
too.
stone bubbled the first fight. A bunch of different things added up, and I made and I thought that was something I was past at this point, and it kind of creeped out on me again. So,
Yeah,
so-
it comes back.
yeah,
Just
even
come
when you
back.
think
And
you
I
work
think
through it.
you get a sense of entitlement a little bit when you've had some success.
Mhm.
Or, I've had to juggle this new spotlight that I have under me because
Yep.
like I told you in 2020, or 2021, when I showed up in the Midwest, I was able to play and nobody knew me and it was just easy peasy, right? And
Mhm.
then now, I'm followed or people expect me to win, or that's what it feels like sometimes.
Yeah.
And that's just, I can't, that's just not something that's realistic.
It's added pressure for
So
no
it
reason.
adds pressure on you that, that you definitely don't need, especially in a game that can be so emotional. The game is easy and you can just breeze through it when things are going well, but it's the downswing that really um it's like you come to Jesus meeting basically. You got to really realize how much you love the game, and is it worth it, because it can be very painful, high highs and low lows.
Facts.
Yeah,
Facts.
absolutely.
Well, let's dive. You were talking about your bestie Jackie. I had the pleasure of playing with her, last year in MSPT. You both are so much fun to be around. She's your study buddy. What does studying look like to you guys? What do you do?
When we first learned how to study, because we didn't even know how to study. We used to read books or watch videos, and
Right.
then when the
Yeah.
training sites came out, and we had to like run solvers and stuff and sims and try to figure out. We've done everything: hand histories, reviewed our own databases. That's really what we do a lot, and not so much anymore because I haven't been playing online. But we used to review hand history after hand history, and sizings and board textures, and then now we're just really with Faraz, and then we do small group studies on the side.
Cool.
uh, and not as much as we used to, but we still do it a lot.
Mhm.
Have you noticed a major improvement, not only in your results, but your confidence in your game after studying, over the past few years? Changing the way you studied?
Yeah, I think it makes you build on your knowledge,
Yep.
so it can really save up your brain power in a way, on spots that you maybe didn't know what to do before. You just know that this is a 1/3 sizing, or
Naturally,
and
right.
it's just like you become a robot in that spot, so then you can go deeper into the study, and then you learn more and more and more. So it makes navigating the field and just the emotional, or not the emotional, but the brain power that it takes to get to the end of a tournament, it makes it not as exhausting, I guess I
Yeah,
would say,
yeah.
because a lot of those decisions become easy because you've studied them so much.
I really
Um,
like the way you put that. Yeah, a lot of these decisions that you've spent a lot more energy on before become more automated, so you're able to save energy for more serious decisions later on in the tournament.
yeah, because there would be times before I studied where I would raise pre-flop, and maybe this flop came just terrible for my hand. And I would be like, "Well, I know they say you're supposed to c bet," like,
Yeah.
so
It
I
could
would
be
just
like a five-way pot or something
yeah,
too. Yeah.
exactly. I'm just c betting because I don't want to look weak, or maybe my ego is making me
Yep.
bet here. Those are the kind of things that I actually went through because I didn't know what to do on different textures. I just knew that I was the pre-flop aggressor, and so I was like supposed to bet, right? That's just how it was.
Mhm.
So I had to go from being that very um newer player, or just not really understanding the game, and try to get to a level where I can actually compete and be profitable, because for me, poker is, I run it like a business.
Mhm.
Just like any of my other businesses, if I'm not turning profits, I want to know why. And so that's why I think I've had such long longevity in the game, is because I run in an air my game selection. I'm not chasing 10Ks, 5Ks, 25Ks. I don't care how much I make in a year. It's not important to me. What's important to me is to turn profits. And so that's why I stay at 3,500s and below, pretty much,
Yeah,
with a few exceptions. And that's because I'm not going to go broke in those,
For
at that
sure.
buy-in size. And that's the most important part of the game.
So
not going
crucial for so crucial for our listeners to hear that. Treating your poker like a business. I actually read a book called "Treat Your Poker Like a Business." I think that was what it's called. It's by
I started
Dusty.
reading it too
really?
because I have it.
It's Dusty Schmidt, I think is his name. He's went online by Leatherass. Was that? It's been like a decade since I've read this book. I don't even remember if that's the right author or not. But yeah, that's kind of when I started having that mindset. Though, is
Yeah.
treating your poker like a business. It'll go a long way.
Yeah, and I don't fire 10 bullets into an event either, because even if I have even if I feel like I have an edge and I know that they say that you should just continue to fire, I'm just not on my best by the time I'm that many bullets deep. Like I'm not scared to fire 4 or 5 even if I had to, but it's not something I love to do. It's not something I want to have happen.
Right.
And I'm never the one that's got 12 bullets into something. I don't care if I'm there for 3 flights. Like that's just not
Okay.
me.
Yeah.
If I have 12K in this tournament, like, I don't know.
Yeah, there is
process.
something sort of mentally that, like, I'm the same. 5 is the most I've ever done in a live tournament, and I think to me there's something where I'm like, not that I wouldn't fire a 6th at some point,
Right.
right? But it's like, even if I feel like I have played well, if I just busted the same event 5 times in the last like day and a half, I just feel like I need to get away from
A
it.
reset.
Even if I feel like I'd be good to play online or something else. Like there's something about, as much as we might joke I'm a robot, like I know I'm not a robot. I know I'm gonna be at least a little bit off my game.
I've got to see that more recently from you too, Wes. And like after we bust, 4 bullets in MSPT, and then you walk out and you just go on a walk with no.
I just text you like,
you're like, I'm
I
out.
want to go home.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, all right, I get it. And then 5 minutes later, I'm like, all right, I'm out. Let's go home.
It's so true.
Yeah.
It's so hard, when I was chasing the GPI towards the end of the year, Jackie and Faraz were like behind the scenes telling me what events, because we had to really strategically pick events to try to, it gets harder and harder as you get towards the end of the year to put up points. And so I was having to hand pick events, and then they're like, buy it again, fire again. If you want to win, you got to fire again. I was like, okay. So
wow.
I was having to fire, like if I showed up somewhere, I was like, okay, I have to get points in this event. Like, so I had to get out of my comfort zone. And that did kind of help, because I used to be really tight with those buy-ins, but that did help me a lot. Now I'm like,
It's crazy how poker desensitizes us to the value of money.
Right. That's why I want my children to never play the game. So many people want to teach their kids, and I'm not about that at all.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fair. Man, I had a few different questions. So the first one was going to be, as far as the tournaments you play, I know you play, 1Ks the 3500s, you said, and you've studied a lot of solvers, or at least like used a lot of those tools, it sounds like. When you're playing in those tournaments, how are you making deviations against kind of your average opponent in an MSPT, let's say?
I mean, isn't it one big deviation on some of these?
Yeah.
Like I think that it's so important to know the solver work, but a lot of these fields, I'm really not using it I'm using it throughout the entire tournament, but it's not like if I'm playing in the Poker Go studio where you'd be having to use it every hand. Like I'm having to go back to when I started and learning on the felt and learning exploitative poker. And I think that has served me starting that way and then going to solvers, because I always have that in my arsenal, like these multi-way pots and 4 and 5 ways, or you 3-bet and the blinds are over calling your 3-bets. There's like nothing worse than that.
Yeah.
And that happens a lot. No solver's ever going to help that. So I think just seeing a lot of flops over time and then adding the solver work into it has helped my game immensely. Puts me steps ahead of, other players, in especially in the soft fields that I
You
play.
articulate very well. I mean, it just makes so much sense. So, I mean, essentially, like, you don't use solver play in these massive, mid to mid-major buy-ins, 3,500 and under, because a lot of these players aren't playing perfect GTO anyways. So you're kind of taking on an exploitative play in those fields more, because that's going to be a better way to play against these opponents. Is that clear? Does that make sense?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, the way I look at it, and obviously
I don't articulate well, so
yeah, the way I look at it is like I try and use the logic of a solver, but like I know that the ranges of my opponents are going to be
way wider,
way,
or whatever.
way different in
Yeah.
different situations. So,
So you have a foundation that's built through the solver, but then you deviate or exploit from there.
yeah.
I think the solver's really good at teaching you how ranges interact
Mhm.
too. And so that helps when you're in these multi-way things. But, a lot of times when you're playing with these really recreational players, like you see it at MSPT Iowa, they're also playing with so much emotion.
Yep.
Their ego, or they're tired of your shit. You've raised their big blind too many times.
Yeah.
So they're in there with things that don't interact with any range on a solver, And so you're just having to navigate based on experience and other things. And I mean, these are the fields we want to be playing.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, yeah. You're totally
100%.
right. Like there are times when the same player can have two vastly different ranges in the same spot. Like
Yeah.
they have their rage tilt range, their start of a tournament, their like neutral range. They have their I just want a bunch of chips and now I want to lock it up
It just changed.
range.
Yeah.
Like there's
Yeah.
the emotions kind of factor in so often. And you can only really make an estimate of what that means for what kind of hand they have. But yeah, that's those are the kind of fields you want to be in.
Kind of off topic, Angela. A term I just introduced to Wes that I learned from you at our most recent MSPT. I actually brought this up on our last podcast. Was the shit triangle.
Yeah, the shit triangle.
Yep.
Yeah. And sometimes they just end up in the shit triangle just based on ego alone. Yeah.
Yep, facts. But if you guys are curious about the shit triangle, listen to our last episode, because I bring it up. It's pretty funny. I love that you call it the shit triangle, though.
Did you bring it up on the episode?
I did, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I for some reason.
Oh, maybe I
thought that was just us talking.
Okay, it could be. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to quickly tell them what the shit triangle is, or maybe you do, Angela? Angela,
No,
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Wes, you do it.
Okay, I got it. So if you look at a pre-flop chart, the shit triangle is just the worst hands. It's like the triangle of hands like that deuce 7 off, deuce 8 off, like 5 deuce.
It does make a triangle down there.
It does make a triangle. Yeah, I forgot what range we were looking at, but it's like you want to, maybe it was like a fold to small blind, like these are the only hands you fold or something, and it's just the absolute stone worst hands. Like,
I remember you saying this in that MSPT we played together last year, and I just I found it so funny. I was like, the shit triangle, that's great. I'm gonna use that forever.
Oh yeah, exactly. You can justify folding it because it's in the shit triangle.
Yep. Yeah. So right now, you just came back from Elgin, right? And
That's
it looks
when I was whining. That's when I was whining.
that's when you were whining.
I was
It
doing
does-
a lot of whining.
Yeah, that'll happen. Coming up here, you'd mentioned that you're going to play Firekeepers. What is your plan for the World Series this year?
I'm taking a week off my schedule. The first week is usually when I get there right away. I don't love mystery bounties. I think I'm like a minority in this. I don't. I know they get huge fields and all that kind of stuff, but I'm just not a huge fan of them. So it gives me, if I can take a week off, that first week just really just doesn't interest me that much. So I'm showing up. The first event I'll be playing is a 1500 PLO8, which is usually an event that's towards the end of June. So this is new to move it to the beginning. So that first week is all pretty much high-low for me, and then move into my schedule, which will go through the main. And then I reevaluate everything after the main. I don't make any schedule after the main because sometimes I can hardly wait to get out of there when the main is over. But pretty much playing, an event a day, basically, for 30 days.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It is.
Yeah, hopefully we can run into you down there. That would be awesome. Maybe grab some dinner or something like that. That'd be super fun. I know we're kind of all over the place right now. I want to take a step back once more here, and we're going to talk about. Well, actually, first off, let's start off with after 2015. You won those 3 tournaments.
Mhm.
Um, did you go back into the cash game streets for a while? It sounds like you played a lot of PLO, PLO8.
Mhm.
You're playing
Yep.
5-10 a lot. What were some of the biggest games you've played in?
Really, the biggest game I've ever played in is 2550, and that's usually during the World Series. But overall, I'm pretty much just always like 510,
Okay.
510 and a quarter. Sometimes now I'm playing a lot of 510 and a quarter, but before, yeah, I just mainly 510 games.
In
It
games
was
like that,
really
are you consistently drawing a yearly profit and every year? I mean, is it just you have an hourly set and you're just constantly crushing it?
I feel like I was in one of the best games. Everybody feels like they're in one of the best games in the country, right? Everybody has a 1-2 that plays like a 5-10 or whatever. People
Right.
always
Yeah.
tell me that. But this PLO8 game started in my bar in 2002 and has ran consistently ever since.
Mm.
But I don't play that much in it anymore, so I'm going to speak openly. A lot of these players have never gotten any better. I don't know what's but yeah, I turned great profits in these games this year over year over year, and I keep really good records. And it was just fun. We became a really dysfunctional family. A lot of these probably had a player pool of maybe 40 people, and that maybe be on the high end. And a lot of these people we have absolutely zero in common except for poker. But we've
I d-
all bonded in a way over this poker table for years and years. I always tell people, God, I'm sitting with people from Yale to jail. And that's
Yep.
I love
Literally.
that from Yale to
and
jail.
and so we yes, there were, I would say there were very few winners in the game, just a couple of us. And over those years, over a very large sample size. But it was fun.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Mhm.
I
Well, it's
miss
like
those games
yeah.
so much.
It's a dysfunctional family where you're the only one getting a weekly allowance.
Yeah.
That's kind of rude, isn't it?
They're
Yeah.
paying your allowance. That's the best part.
Cool. So you were crushing. I mean, I'm envious of that. I never play in PLO games that big ever, and I just know that I'm the fish. I'd be the one paying you. So I stay out of those. It's cool to hear that you.
And with PLO8 was a primary game, is less variance than PLO. Like,
Okay.
when you're playing high only, the variance is really high, the win rates are
Mhm.
lower, the consistent win rates, even on a winning player, are lower. You can have insane win rates on PLO8 cash games in the right games. So it is a different animal than high only. Now, with that said, since I've only been playing tournaments the last 2 years, I am actually struggling in cash for the first time in my career the last year because I'm only playing Hold'em really.
Yep.
And I'm stepping into these games that are wild here in Iowa with all these like rich farmers and all this kind of stuff that don't give a shit about money. Where my game in Oregon, they did care, some of it, you probably shouldn't even be spending this money on the table. And this group that I play with now, they all have money, and so they're not scared to call down, and they're not scared to be in these spots. And the game is big, and it's a mix. And 5 card high is in there too, which is a sicko game. And so I've been struggling to have the win rates that I'm used to. So, here I've been kind of bricking some tournaments and then kind of struggling in cash. So let's just say I've been an emotional wreck. No, I'm just kidding.
That's completely fine. No, that makes sense. And I think, do you think that not only is it because that they're farmers who have a ton of money and they like to call down, but also because you're in a tournament mindset where you've been
Yeah.
focusing on all of this different, all these different tournament types of strategies where that it might affect your cash game strategy.
Right. And before I could swing back and forth from cash to tournaments, no problem, because tournaments were a tiny part of
Right.
poker. But when tournaments are my main focus to go back to cash, I am having a harder time swinging, especially when it's a 4-game mix and I'm only playing Hold'em. It's just like I don't know. I'm having a hard time balancing it. And
Okay. Okay.
so, yeah.
Well, and I imagine like your normal thing, like you usually play with a ton of aggression, and then suddenly when you're with these guys who will just call off however much money all in with,
Yeah.
if we're talking about Hold'em, like with fourth pair or something, suddenly it's like,
Right.
well, I guess I just have to wait for a big hand and then
Yeah.
try and get it all that way. And
Yeah, like the last time I played, like I repot to 2200 pre-flop, and the two guys behind me have like $80 in the pot or something, and they're like, "Well, we have money in the pot, so we're going."
Oh my
There's nothing
God.
worse
Yeah.
than when going like 5 ways pre-flop with, that way. I don't care what your hand is.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Yeah, just
so
didn't pay in the pot all of a
super high
sudden.
variance.
if you win that, you're having a big night, but if not, then it starts things off. That was like the first orbit of the game. So that just kind of tells you how the game is. And so it just got a lot more variance.
Mhm.
And I'm not used to having that much variance. So
I mean, that's huge. Yeah, it's hard to explain to someone who's never played stakes like that how crazy that truly is. You know what I mean?
yeah. They're like,
It's
well, he's sitting there tanking. Well, I already have 80 in the pot. I'm like, it's
bro,
2,200.
yeah. That's quite yeah, I mean it's insane. Well, let's step away from cash games for a second here. Let's talk about tournaments. You know, you've been focusing a lot more on those the past couple of years. Um, back to 2022, the very beginning of 2022. It looks like I was looking through your head, Mob. You had some, some scores here and there, some smaller ones. It was a little bit slower, but then came the World Series. You played a 1K freeze out where you got third place. What was it for 154K?
151, right?
151, yeah.
151.
Yeah. Well, we played at the same table for most of day 2 that day as well.
What
It was so fun.
Yeah.
I mean, you went on an absolute tear after this, but before we get to that, tell us what that was like.
Oh my gosh. It was everything I can imagine and more. Like, I was so excited. I would show up at the World Series and I loved it and I would go every single year, but I never really thought I had a shot at winning. I'll
Yeah.
be honest because
Okay.
I didn't study that much. I just liked all of it. I just liked the tournaments and that kind of stuff, but I really never took them seriously. So and then that about what was the end of 2019 is when I started to study. So this was like the first year I thought that I would really be able to run deep. And so when it was happening, I was ecstatic. I had all my friends coming by the rail. Wes can tell you.
Yep. I had like 1 or 2 friends come up and they just shit talked me. So
And I just enjoyed every minute of it. And it was a 2-day tournament. So we made the final table so late, really, really late. And, I busted in third at like 3 o'clock in the morning or something. So I didn't have that chance to rally my family and stuff to be there.
Right.
But my poker friends were there. My daughter flew in from LA. And I had a blast the entire time. I didn't have any pressure on myself. I was like, "Ooh, this is so fun. This is my
Wha-
biggest score ever." Like,
What a special moment.
yeah, I really loved it. And then I turned around and ran deep in the main.
Yep.
Mhm.
You got 175th for 54K in that.
Yeah. So it was just like a dream summer. When you start the year with a big cash, or you start the series, you're having the best World Series.
Wes can attest to that.
I can, yeah.
Exactly.
And this is such a bizarre stat, but I'm almost positive that the freeze out and then the gladiator were both event number 18. So you and I both got third place in event number 18 back-to-back years.
Oh, wow.
So
That's a very robotic thing to realize.
well, the only reason I did is
Very
because
Wes.
it is. It's something that I don't even understand why I know these things sometimes, but all I know is event number 18 this year is like a 5K PLO, so I'm not going to be in it. But
Oh,
I
dang.
want sorry,
no,
go ahead.
yeah, I was going to say one of the things I remember about the day 2 when we played together was you had this hand. It was a massive all in where this guy just punted it with like 9-8 suited, and
Yeah.
your genuine excitement after, like during and after the hand, it was so clear that you were just like having a blast.
Oh, yeah. It was so fun. Yeah, he put me to the test. I mean, I had to call it was a crazy hand. And it was also the break of the monster stack. So all my friends were on the rail. Remember all the people that were around?
Mhm.
And this huge hand breaks out. I've got all my chips in the middle. I have ace, king of diamonds. And yeah, he 5-bet jams me or something like that.
Pre-flop?
Yeah, because
Yes.
I think
Yes.
he was
We
under
were
the
the
gun.
Yeah.
He opened and there's a flat, and you 3-bet in middle position, and he just. Do you remember how many blinds it was?
We were both deep. We both
Yeah.
had like top 10 stacks.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
And
It was
yeah,
like 30 left.
this guy just rips it in and the middle player folds and
Not only, I mean, you know, you're still only gonna win that hand, you know, 60% of the
Right.
time. Or
yeah.
Exactly.
That's
Exactly. It was
terrifying, man. Losing
terrifying.
that would be brutal. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
it was wild. And he looked like just like he was probably in his 60s, and it looked like he was like a business guy, and he just went crazy.
Let it
And
ride. That was his thought, I bet. Let it ride.
yeah, so to win
I
that hand, that's what took me deep, really.
yeah, man, I remember that because after that he had like 2 big blinds left and he busted right away.
So you were at this table then. You saw, well, clearly, I mean,
Yeah.
you knew the action
Yeah.
perfectly.
Yeah.
Yeah. A
So
wild hand. It was wild.
yeah, after that hand, so I had folded a couple times to him and I was like, "Oh, I fucked up. Like I should not have folded to this guy before."
But well, once you have that information, it
Yeah.
changes, right? Hindsight.
But yeah,
Well, right before that, we had break, and he had not been at our table long. And I had told somebody on break, I was like, there's this guy at my table and he's making these really weird river bets. And I don't know if you remember this, Wes, but I was like, that he was doing that. But anyway, I said to myself, something's going on here. I'm not sure what, but I had already noticed that something was off, but he hadn't been at our table very long. And then this hand happened not long after our break. And I'm just like, I can't fold to this guy. Something weird's going on, even though he looks like he shouldn't have any kind of weird moves in his
right.
arsenal. He did. And so, yeah, it was a good hold. And sometimes you forget the holds, but not that one. I don't.
Yeah. It's good to remember the
True.
times that you don't get unlucky.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
yeah.
I feel like, yeah, definitely most people remember when they, you know, got unlucky.
Yeah, and some people will even remember when they got lucky, but it's like you said, even if you're a 60-40 favorite, you're going to lose that 40% of the time.
Which I mean, when you put yourself in that situation a lot, you lose a lot of the time.
A lot. It wasn't my favorite thing when this 60-year-old's 4-bet jamming on me for piles with, I think there was like 3 or 4 tables left, I wasn't thrilled to call it off with ace king.
No.
But now when people ask me my favorite hand, I always say ace king of diamonds. So.
I love that.
That's a good one.
Okay.
That's up there.
Well,
Yeah.
I just want to, spitfire off of what 2022 looked like after that moment. So you got third in that for 151K, your biggest score at that point. Oh, it's your biggest score. Then you ran deep that same summer in the main, 175th for 54K. You followed that up with a 5th in the MSPT for 46K. Then you went to the World Series of Poker circuit, and you got a 3rd and a 6th for 55K combined in that. Then you went and won a WPT Legend 1K for 84K, and then you got 4th in a WSOPc main for 96.5K. Hold on, I'm not done yet.
Wow.
And then starting off in 2023, you went and won the World Series of Poker circuit high roller for 86.5K.
Yeah.
What a stretch of tournaments. I mean, I'm out of breath saying that.
Yeah, it was, oh my man, I hope that happens to me again. I hope I get a run like that again. The thing is I guess I have Kina to thank for that.
Okay.
Because after the series was over, she messaged me and said, Angela, you're up there for player of the year. And I was like, what's that?
Yeah.
She's like, on the GPI. And I was like, okay, where do I find this information? And this was like on a Tuesday. And she goes, look, if you could win this, you could win female player of the year. And I was like, really? I knew nothing about it.
Mhm.
And so I told her, I go, okay, I'll go to Cherokee this weekend. And if I put up points, I'll go for it. Otherwise, I'm out. I don't care.
Yep.
And so 2 days later, I'm in Cherokee on a Thursday. And then that's when I go on that run, and I have 2 final tables and score like 300 points or something like that that weekend. And that's what propelled me to play really heavy, which then all these scores kept coming. And then I was getting deeper and deeper. There was really 5 of us probably in October that could have won it, that were really, really neck and neck. And then after the win or the 90K score in Choctaw, it was just pretty much me and Cherish that were going for it towards the end.
Yeah, you had it.
Yeah.
I mean, what an absolute sun run. And it's funny because you're like, I really hope that happens again. And I mean, according to, looking back at your history, I think it will. I mean, you've done this more than once now, so
Yeah. I always felt like years after, even though I didn't play tournaments and really didn't have a lot of volume, I was always like, man, I was a one-hit wonder on those 3 tournaments in a row, you know?
That's so
So
funny.
so to come back and have some success feels great.
Mhm.
And, yeah, I hope it does happen again.
Yeah, I was so happy to see you absolutely crushing it last year. It motivated and inspired me. You know, I love seeing people that I look up to, and I've looked up to you for a long time. It definitely motivates. You know, it puts a fire into my ass to play better and get better results and practice as well. So
Oh, good. Thank you.
yeah,
Yeah.
we have. Well, do you want to ask the
Yeah.
reoccurring question? Is that
Yeah,
where you're at?
that was literally what I was about to do.
We have a
So,
reoccurring question on our podcast when we do interviews.
Oh,
Go ahead, Wes.
yeah. Is poker a science or an art?
I think it's an art.
Okay, interesting.
Okay. Do you have
It's
any
a
more you
little
want
bit
to
of
expand on
science.
that?
Yeah. I think it has to be an art to play large field MTTs, especially at the buy-in level I'm at. Now, if you asked me if I was playing 10 and 25Ks, I'd say 100% it's a science.
Okay.
Yeah.
But in the fields that I'm playing, you've got to be creative.
Is that due to the playing exploitative styles?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, for sure.
I love
Yeah.
asking that question because we get, I mean, it's back and forth. Everybody, you know, whether it's science or it's art,
Who
and a lot
said
of people,
science?
uh,
I mean, Ku Vang, he said science straight
strictly,
up.
yeah.
Okay.
The poker guys said science.
Well,
But
of
then you got
course.
like Josh Reichert who said art.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know-
Well, he's the king of art.
Yeah,
He is.
true.
You know, I was surprised. Richie said science, but I thought he was going to say art.
He kind of Richie was you know Richie Elsip, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was kind of he was on both sides. He's like, I got
Yeah.
the found, you know, it's got a scientific foundation, and then I deviate, which is the art, kind of something along the lines of that.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
that's true. No, what you said about it depends on the type of game or type of tournament. I'll also say I think tournaments are more art than cash. And I think live is more art than online. And so like there's
Facts.
yeah, there's a large spectrum of it. And there's also some of it depends on the definition too, because it's like sometimes there's a scientific reasoning why your artistic creation worked. You know what I mean? And
Yeah. Yeah.
but yeah, that's always a fun one to ask.
It is a subjective answer, though. I mean, it's an opinion. So,
Yeah.
is there any questions you have for us at all, Angela? This has been a really fun conversation. I mean, getting to chat with you on a personal level has been really nice. I got to play with you for the first time last year. I was very impressed. I remember you bluffed the shit out of me. And I
Good.
yeah, she
Did?
did. Yeah,
Sure. Did I show it?
you told me.
Oh.
I don't remember.
I probably lied.
I'm not like Wes. I don't remember every hand history I've ever played, but you know, I don't even remember what it was. But yeah, I asked you, and you kindly were like, "Yeah, I
Oh,
didn't
I
have it."
don't
So
remember.
Yeah.
you're extremely intimidating and fierce in the best ways possible. What does poker look like for you? I know we spoke about the summer. What beyond that? What are your hopes moving on?
I want to win an MSPT.
Okay.
So
Me
I'm
too.
gonna put in some more volume on that. It seems attainable yet hard. So that is a goal of mine. I do want to kind of collect some trophies
Yep.
along the way. And so, you know, obviously I have all the same goals in tournaments that we all have, you know, to win the big one, to win,
Yeah.
you know, a bracelet and things like that. And I am putting in the volume and giving myself a shot. But I don't think it'll define me or my career if that never happens. I just want to turn profits. I want to win some tournaments. I want to be with my friends, and I want to have balance between personal life and poker. And sometimes that can get so skewed in poker because it is a passion for all of us, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah, you
Yep.
guys spend this time playing and doing a podcast, so it's obviously a passion for you. And
Yeah.
that passion can creep and take over a lot. And so I really try to have balance with, you know, my family, my friends, and poker, because that's how I play the best, is when it's all in balance.
It's a good reminder for
Everybody.
not
For
just
you,
us,
yeah.
but yeah, everyone. Yeah.
It's so clear you've been through it. I mean, you know
Oh,
what I
I've
mean?
been around so long. I have seen so many really talented poker players burn out, either because they had pit problems or this or that. Like I've seen a lot. I've been around a long time, and so I'm trying to learn from mistakes and then not make those same common mistakes.
Right.
Yeah. Well, if you're able to learn from mistakes that you haven't even made yourself necessarily, that's good
Yeah.
because
I
that's
just don't really play in the pits at all, because I can't. I would probably I'd empty my wallet if I'm out there, and then it would affect my poker games. So for
Yep.
me, I just stay away from that. But whenever I hear people say they're moving to Vegas, I'm like, do you play the pits? Do you have an alcohol problem? Because any of those leaks are just exacerbated in Vegas. So if you say no to that, then you'll make it. That's
Yep.
how I feel. And so, yeah, I just try to stay away from it myself.
Well, Angela, again, this has been an absolute pleasure getting to speak with you, with Wes here, and answering all these questions for us. I look forward to hopefully seeing you at Firekeepers MSPT coming up around the
I'm going to
corner
bluff
here.
you again.
I mean, hey, I would not be offended. I hope I'm able to bluff you.
Yeah.
I might not try though. I'm
We'll get a
terrified.
leveling war, just bluffing each other.
Just make sure he's not tilted. 'Cause
Just
then
promise.
he's not folding.
Just promise me that you'll windmill it if you do bluff it.
Just
Okay,
throw it
okay.
in his face. Yeah.
That's
fair.
amazing. For our listeners out there, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Just a reminder to check out our Discord, the Suited Kings Discord. You can find the link for that at the top of my Twitter. It's a non-expiring link. Thank you. In there, you get access to our hand history reviews, where we got a bunch of people always talking poker, literally 24/7.
Yeah.
We have a general chat where you can talk about what you're playing, what you're getting into, just meet a bunch of people with, similarities and things that you have in common. So make sure to join that. It's completely free. And Angela, again, it was great to have you.
Yeah, thanks guys. I'll see you in Firekeepers.
Yeah, we'll
thanks,
see you there.
Angela.
Okay, bye.